I took the role women fight for. Mothers told me I deserve abandonment. Is disengagement a flaw, or does the system break anyone holding the mental load? I cut hours to save us. Now I drown alone.
It started with a spreadsheet on a Tuesday night. I looked at our finances and realized her career had more upward momentum than mine. So I made the logical choice. I reduced my hours to 30 per week. I took over the school drop-offs. I managed the grocery inventory. I became the primary caregiver. I thought this was progress. I thought this was equality. But then the relief never came. Instead, I found myself staring at the inside of the refrigerator at 6 p.m., wondering if we had enough milk for the morning cereal. The light hums overhead. The cold air hits my face. My wife, Sarah, comes home at 7. She walks through the door and drops her bag. She asks what is for dinner. She does not ask if the kids finished their homework. She does not know where the extra toilet paper is stored. I used to think this was just how work felt. I thought the mental load was a byproduct of exhaustion. But I am exhausted too. I am scrubbing stains out of carpet while holding a crying toddler. The vacuum cleaner roars in my ears. The baby screams against my chest. She sits on the sofa and scrolls through her phone. The blue light reflects on her face. When I ask her to check the pantry before she orders takeout, her voice cracks with irritation. She tells me I am nagging. She tells me she needs to decompress. Wait, listen closer. I am not asking for help with the heavy lifting. I am asking for awareness. I am asking her to know that we are out of shampoo before she stands in the shower and screams. I am asking her to remember that the dentist appointment is on Tuesday without me sending 3 calendar invites. I am carrying the invisible weight of every appointment, every meal, every sock that needs matching. I needed to know if I was alone in this. I needed to know if other people felt this invisible weight crushing their ribs. So I joined the online communities. I joined the groups where mothers discuss the mental load. I thought they would understand. I thought they would see a man doing the work they fight to have recognized. I typed out my post with shaking hands. Here is the truth. They did not see a partner. They saw a man failing to be masculine enough to handle the home. I posted about my burnout. I explained that I work 30 hours and manage 100% of the domestic sphere. I asked if it was normal for the working spouse to completely disconnect from the household management. I hit send and waited for validation. The responses were not support. They were attacks. One woman wrote that if I cannot handle the home while working part-time, I am not pulling my weight. Another said that my stress is optional. She said I should just stop caring so much about clean floors. But the floors are dirty because I am holding the baby. I read the comments until my vision swam behind gritty eyelids. But then something changed. I read a comment that stopped my breath. A mother of 3 wrote that my wife would be justified in divorcing me. She said I am not man enough to handle the home and that my resentment is a sign of weakness. She said Sarah works hard and deserves to come home to a sanctuary, not a man complaining about grocery lists. My chest tightened until breathing felt like swallowing glass. I felt skin prickled hot then cold. This is the pain spike. I realized in that moment that the sympathy for domestic labor is gendered. If Sarah were the one at home and I were working 60 hours, the same women would tell me to step up. They would tell me to notice the milk. They would tell me to share the load. But because I am the husband, my labor is expected. My burnout is a joke. My request for partnership is seen as an abdication of duty. I tried to talk to Sarah about it. I showed her the comments. I told her how it felt to be told I deserve abandonment. She looked at me with tired eyes. She said she does not have the energy to deal with my feelings about online strangers. She avoided the responsibility when questioned. She turned the television up. The volume drowned out my voice. Here is the truth. I remain burnt out. I wish I had the financial ability to be a full stay-at-home dad, so I could at least finish the laundry before the kids wake up. But I do not. I work my 30 hours. I come home to the second shift, and I know that if I left, if I abandoned this family like they say I deserve, the narrative would flip. They would call her a victim. They would call me a villain. Wait, listen closer. If a wife stayed home and the husband worked, would you tell her to stop complaining or tell him to help more? That is the question nobody wants to answer. The mental load conversation excludes men even when we carry the entire load. We are not seen as caregivers. We are seen as helpers who are failing. The system is designed to break the person holding the bag, regardless of gender, but it punishes men harder for showing weakness. I wake up tomorrow. I will make the lunches. I will pack the bags. I will check the fridge. Sarah will come home. She will ask what is for dinner, and I will not say anything. because I know that if I speak, I am nagging. If I stay silent, I am failing. The cycle continues without end. But then something changed. Nothing changed. That is the thriller part of this story. The danger is not a monster in the closet. The danger is the silence in the kitchen. The danger is the realization that society will let me drown as long as I am wearing a wedding ring and an apron. I am the antagonist in my own life because I am a man playing a woman's role, and the audience hates the performance. I look at my hands. They are red from dish soap. The skin is raw. I look at the clock. It is 9 p.m. The house is quiet. The kids are asleep. Sarah is asleep. I am alone with the mess, and I know that tomorrow I will do it all again. Because if I stop, the system collapses, and nobody cares if I break. The moral dilemma sits heavy in my chest. Is this her fault, or is it the situation? I do not know anymore. I just know the water is rising. Hello, I'm Dr. Julian Reed. What we observe here is a clinical presentation. I term instrumental dependence with cognitive labor avoidance. The wife's behavior isn't malicious, not in the cartoonish sense. It's more insidious, a gradual, almost imperceptible outsourcing of domestic cognition to a willing partner, reinforced by societal scripts that still, despite our progress, whisper that home management is someone else's problem when you bring home the paycheck. This isn't about love, it's about cognitive economy. Why carry the mental inventory of household needs when someone else has already volunteered? He feels invisible. That's the first truth we must hold. His burnout isn't fatigue, it's the erosion of self when your labor has no witness. He cooks, cleans, manages the minutiae of another human's survival, and still the question of what's for dinner lands on his shoulders like an accusation. She isn't evil. She's complicit in a system that rewards disengagement when the role reverses. And let's be clinically precise, complicity doesn't require intent. It requires only the absence of correction. Notice the pattern: she offers help, but defaults to convenience. She avoids conversations about the mental load. This isn't ignorance, it's strategic unawareness. To acknowledge the weight he carries would require her to carry it too, or worse, to see that she's been carried. And that, psychologically, is a much heavier lift. The avoidance isn't of chores, it's of accountability, of seeing the machinery she benefits from but refuses to maintain. The societal mirror here is brutal. When he speaks with other mothers, they side with the working spouse even when that spouse is him. Why? Because the archetype of the harried working mother is culturally legible. The burnt-out primary caregiver father is not. His pain doesn't fit the narrative, so it's dismissed or worse, weaponized against him as proof he's not trying hard enough. This is the double standard made flesh. His contribution is expected, hers is celebrated. His exhaustion is weakness, hers is sacrifice. This is where the darkness lies, not in her heart, but in the space between what we say we value and what we actually reward. We praise involved fatherhood until it requires us to see men as vulnerable, as exhausted, as entitled to support. We champion working mothers until one of them dares to replicate the very behaviors we condemn in absent fathers. The system doesn't break, it adapts. And the person holding the bag, literally, the grocery bags, pays the price. Is her disengagement a character flaw? Or is it the predictable outcome of removing any own regardless of gender from the daily, grinding reality of mental load? If he earned more if she stayed home, would the dynamic flip? Perhaps, but perhaps not. Because the issue isn't just who earns, it's who notices, who remembers the dentist appointment, who feels the weight of an empty pantry as a personal failure. The mental load isn't about tasks, it's about vigilance. And vigilance, once relinquished, is hard to reclaim. So I leave you with this, and I want you to sit with it. If love is a verb, why do we only count the hours logged, not the attention paid? And if you saw your own reflection in her avoidance, would you look away? Or would you finally see him?